talking about the truth about our treasures. If we can turn to the book of Proverbs, chapter 27. If we have our Bibles with us, our media team as well. If we can get there before the media team, all the better. Proverbs 27, 23 to 24. Proverbs 27, 23 to 24. Are we there? If we can read, it says, are we all there before I carry on? It says, "Be thou diligent to know the state of thy flocks, and look well to thy herds." Be thou diligent to know the state of your flocks. Back to 23, please. "And look well to thy herds." And 24 says, "For riches are not forever, and doth the crown endure to every generation." If I could just ask you to please stand up for a second for a quick prayer. Thank you very much. I thank you, Father, as we're about to go into the word today. I bless you and I praise your holy name. I ask you, Lord, to anoint my lips of clay to speak your word. I ask you, Father, to send your ministering angels to us, to be with us today. We ask you, Father, that from this moment on, our lives will go from glory to glory. We ask you, Father, to send your ministering angels. We ask you, Father, to touch our hearts today. In Jesus' name I pray.
Amen.
Amen. Thank you. If we can just go back to verse 23, please. Thank you. On this verse itself, there are just three things here that keep spitting out to me. One is diligence, and the other phrase is state of thy flocks, and the third is look well to thy herds. From my perspective, what does it mean to be diligent? What does it mean to be diligent to thy flocks? What does it mean? To me, it just says to me to show more care. And in so many ways, there's so many things around us that we're aligned to on a day-to-day basis, from our work, from the people that we meet, from our neighbors, even to our work with God. How do we show care to the service of God? How do we show care to our employers? From the very first day with our employers, we sign that contract which says, from a Monday to Friday, I'll see you 9 to 5, and this is the level of commitment that I'll give to you. And the expectation is by the end of the month, there is some sort of reward that'll come back from it. So you are contributing your time, 9 to 5, Monday to Friday, 4 weeks of the month, and at the end of the month, you get paid for it. If you commit wrongly, it will affect you by the end of the month. At the end of the day, you will still get paid. Well, it's quite likely that you get some sort of disciplinary, that would say your effort, your commitment, the effort that you put in on Monday that week wasn't good enough. So it's either we start to do something about it, or we'll have to start thinking about managing you out of the company and we'll find somebody else. That will never be a portion. And if you commit well, if you give 110% to your employer, at the end of that month as well, you will get some sort of bonus, quite possibly so. And then you also start to get noticed. So that contribution starts to build, and before you know what's happening, your treasure will start to increase, because it's very likely that you'll be in line for the next position, which will make you to be in line for the next wage structure. And then your treasures at work will begin to expand. My question is, what sort of service are we giving to our employers? What sort of service are we giving to our families as men, as women, as husbands, as wives? Do we push so hard Monday to Friday? Do we burn ourselves out and forget that we've got a beautiful lady waiting out for us to spend some time with, or we've got a husband to spend some time with, or we've forgotten to roll on the carpet with our children when we get back home? We just lock the car, put our stuff in the study. We're too tired to even see anyone the next day. We just go upstairs and sleep. Do the same thing the next day. You do the same thing the next day. And before you know what's happening, you find a child that says, I never get to spend time with my father. And that shall never be a portion either. What sort of service are we giving back to a family? And even to ourselves, what sort of service do we give to ourselves? If there's one thing that a lot of people know me for, is when I'm tired, I just totally shut down. You will not find me for 3-4 days. My phone is switched off. I'm not responding to emails. I just disappear into my own little cocoon. Even my parents are tired of even screaming at me. I think about 3 weeks ago, I was so stressed out at work, just shortly after Christmas. For 2 days, they couldn't find me. And eventually, they got through to my wife, and they were like, where's Lai? Well, he's this, he's that, and he's traveled. I just had to find something to say, because I was just absolutely shattered, and I needed time for myself. And the question is, how much time are we spending with ourselves as well? Do we even go for that 15 minutes walk to say, look, it's been a very long day. I've spent some time with you, missus. I've spent time with the kids. I need to go for a 15 minutes walk as well. And when it comes to God, how much time are we spending with God? How much time are we giving in service to God ourselves? how are we contributing that diligence to the work of the Father? And even to our neighbors, do we just drive past them in snow, or do we even help them to clear the driveway? All of these are different actions that can help us to build our rewards, that can help us to build our treasures. You just never know. You might just be that lift that you give to your neighbor. It might just be that beautiful word that you say to them, or just help them to get into town, or just clear the garage for them. And through that conversation, they might say, oh, I never knew you were into this. I do have a brother that is looking for. And one thing leads into the other. You sign a contract, it builds your treasures as well. If I could use myself as an example, as much as I don't like to, over the last 2 weeks at work, it's been quite stressful. It's never happened to me this way. And if I look back the last 2 weeks and decide to take a record of how I've spent my last 2 weeks, I would say it's affected a lot of all the other things I mentioned, right through from God to my family to my kids. And usually I'd always like to get to work for 9 and want to leave at 5:30, because as far as I'm concerned, that's the contract I've signed with them. I don't give too much more than that, because 9 to 5 I give 100% anyway. But ever since the missus started work, I've had to, because we share a car, I've had to come into work at 8 a.m. every morning. And so I just realized that because they realized that I come in an hour earlier, all the things started to come my way, all the emails, all the requests started to come because, oh, Lai is there a bit earlier, so we can ask him to help us do this. And I'm not very good at saying no sometimes. And before I knew what was happening, I started to get overloaded. And before I knew what was happening as well at work, I became the bottleneck, and a lot of people were waiting on me to get things done. And all through the last 2 weeks, I was so stressed out and so busy that if I look at the record and track it back, it's just affected everything. And so I've got to find a way to get back to what that balance should be in terms of my time with the family, with God, with my neighbors, with church, and then with work again. And it's all about just getting back to that record. So how do we apply ourselves to all these areas? How do we apply ourselves is a big question that I'm asking. And still going on the truth about our treasures, the one other verse I'd like us to go to is Proverbs 21:5, if we can skip to it quickly. And if you still know where Proverbs is, if you still don't know where it is, it's after the book of Psalms. Okay. If we can all read this together, church. It says, the thoughts of the diligent, but of everyone that is hasty. Okay. Another version says, plan carefully, and you will have plenty. If you act too quickly, you will never have enough. The one thing that springs to my mind is, look before you leap. And the context behind that might be quite strange, but please forgive me if I use it. Back in the days when we were all single, when we used to be single, we would look and say, oh, beautiful man, he's got his nice shirt, he's all well starched, he's looking nice in his suit. That's the man for me. So you're looking and you're leaping, and then you get married and you see something else. You start asking, what happened from there to where we are today? What happened? Where's the word? Why didn't I see that monster initially? All that glitters is not gold. But there's nothing wrong in looking before leaping, but looking with the help of the Holy Spirit is what matters the most. A couple of years ago, through my aggressive nature in my early teens, I went to the bank manager of NatWest and I said, I've just got this business idea and I just want a loan. And in his own carelessness too, I guess he was looking at his bonus. He didn't even ask me for a business plan, and I didn't show one to him either. And at 22 years old, he gave me a £15,000 loan, a £10,000 credit card, and said, well, that's the £25,000 you're looking for, so there you go. And the repayments have all been set up for you, you should be fine. And all I just kept on hearing was, I should be fine. 2-3 months down the line, without any business plan, without any business model or marketing strategy, the customers weren't coming in. So I was looking, I'd leapt into it, but I just didn't take a step back to even pray about it, to ask myself the question, is this the right thing to do? The fact that something looks good does not make it the most suitable thing. The fact that, oh, that's a beautiful car doesn't mean it's the next thing for me to get. And, you know, unfortunately, I was raised by 2 accountants. And as well, I've been, I guess, my experiences of life over the last few years have really, really shaped me in a very, very strange way. And I do take pity on my wife a lot. You know, sometimes she comes to me and says, I want a new car. We should get a new car. And I say to her, what's wrong with the blue Banger we're driving? What's wrong with the jalopy that we're driving? It moves us from A to B. It's got leather, it's got AC, it's got heating. You know, what's wrong with it? Or she says, oh, the boys need new shoes. I'm like, well, we've got shoe expanders. push it out, push the leather out a bit. Let them manage it for another 2 or 3 months. Why not? Why must we always spend? Oh, we need to send some money to Nigeria, about £500. Or send them half. They would understand. Why do you have to send them everything? Always take a step back and ask the question. Oh, we've not been to Nando's in 3 months. I hear that every time. Nando's. Where is she? Right. And I say to her very simply, look, when you finish choir practice, stop by Bletchley, buy some chicken. We've got some sauce in the house, and we'll do Nando's in the kitchen. Less than £5. Why do you have to always consistently spend money? It could even be at work where you've been so great to your bosses at work, and at the end of the year they give you £1,000 in vouchers. My thinking is very simple. Before I go to that Russell and Bromley and buy that £100 shoe that I've been looking at all year, without the vouchers, I'd have still survived. I'll be looking at converting that £1,000 vouchers into money as best as I can. I'll go to eBay if I have to, find someone that'll give me $950 or $900, and straight into my savings account. But we're so good at spending. It's unbelievable. We're Africans. It's unbelievable. If we can also go to the book of Proverbs 21:20. It says, there is treasure to be desired and oil in the dwelling of the wise, but a foolish man spendeth it all. I've been foolish quite a few times. Maybe just down to immaturity or just down to not thinking, but yeah, I've had to learn from it. I'm sure it's happened to us at certain stages in our lives, but it's all part of the learning process. And for me, I don't mind falling. I don't mind failing sometimes. For me, the most important thing is always how I pick myself up. When I say to people that, look, I've had a tough childhood, I've had difficulties in life. When I say to people that, look, when I first came to this country, I used to be a security guard in Tesco. I'll stand for 15 hours a day just like that. Just like that, standing, looking at people stealing chocolates and bricks in Tesco, and I'll be looking away. I don't want to get involved, take whatever you want to take. It's not my problem. I'm only just earning £3.75 an hour. Why do I have to stress myself? But the end goal was always different for me. It's always about what's my plan for the future. Financially, what's my plan? Okay, fine, I'm earning £3.75 now. But what I used to realize was every time I was at Tesco, I used to have a good attitude. I would say hello, hi, and I was always nice to everybody. I would see bank executives and IT consultants. They'll come and grab their lunch. They'll come and have the sandwich. But along the way, they'll start to converse with me and ask me questions. Why are you doing this? Have you thought of doing that instead? I'm like, well, I never knew about it. Life is all about information. If you don't have it, you just wouldn't know. But along the line, from meeting all these different types of people, I started to explore what they did. And through the understanding of what they did, I started to gain interest in it. And then I'll be questioning, why am I earning £3.25 in this beautiful uniform that's got this nice rank? When someone in a suit over there, he's on £50 an hour, he's got a pot belly, he's enjoying himself, life is good. Why can't I do it? If that's what it takes, I'd rather have a pot belly than stand here for 15 hours. It's a lot better for me. But it says, there is treasure to be desired and oil in the dwelling of the wise. For those who don't know, I'm from Nigeria, for African brothers and also for European brothers as well. I'm from Nigeria, and it's bad enough we've got a confused Jonathan, but as a country, we've got so much natural resources. We've got oil, but we still don't have oil. We've got so much oil, and it's just being mismanaged by foolish people. It's all in there. And if we can just draw that a bit back home, in terms of our earnings on a month-to-month basis, how are we managing our finance? Do we earn that £3,000 and spend £3,500 this month, next month, March, April? Then by May we go into overdraft. By June we go into buy now, pay in 2014. By July we get a store card. By April we go down to the pawn shop with our gold because we're trying to balance the books. How well do we save for the future? There's something quite interesting that Pastor just said now, which is, as a patriarch or as the head of the family, your children will blame you if you don't prepare well for them. As much as I know, I've said that my dad is an accountant or was an accountant, retired. There were things that he did that I know I still don't agree with. He's a beautiful man, he is, but he's very, very good with giving to so many people. And I would always fight him down, which is, you can't always give every time. What about me? What about us? But that was his own time, and that was his understanding. And I've had to challenge myself in that. And that's why, even in my house, and this is something that I'm sure the pastor knows about, I've got a benchmark of £50. If you come to me for £49.99p, I'll give it to you. Honestly, if you come right now, I'll give it to you. But if you hit the mark of £50 in my house or anywhere else at work, and you don't give me a strong reason as to why we need it, it's not going to happen. The man is not for turning. It's just not going to happen. I just don't believe in doing it. That's why the man, the missus saying, oh, I want a new car. And I say, well, what's wrong with the blue one? She's come again this week to say, well, I gave you 2 boys. I've been standing by you all this while. I can't defend that. So I've got to find something to do about that, hopefully very soon. You know. But you've got to set standards. You've got to set boundaries around yourself. Which is, when I earn this £3,000, how much am I saving for myself, for my wife, for my children, for the future? What are we putting aside for this beautiful project? Where am I sending my children to? You know, and I hear there's this project going on in town. Even if it's just £10 for a couple of hours for them to do arts and craft, you just never know where that will take them to. We all play with this beautiful tool these days. And when I was reading about this teenager that started this tool a couple of years ago, I think it was in 2004, between the ages of 18 and 20, he was locked in his father's garage, building this beautiful software. And by the end of the year in his school, a lot of students are joining to the software. They were all conversing and, you know, going on the social media network within the school. By the end of the second year, he had gone right through most of the universities in America, and they had signed up into this beautiful social media. By the end of the second year, he launched it and called it Facebook. He was worth £500,000 by then. Within 12 months later, he was worth £1 billion by the year 21. And everything goes back to the fact that he was encouraged along the way. Now he's worth well over £10 billion, and he's just 31 years old. That's impressive, you know. A lot of people, you know, either through reject, either through difficulties of life, they take a step back and they plan again. It could be through planning, through finance, planning through trying to build their treasures. I think we've got a slide, media team, if you can put a slide up, but there are quite a few people that are researched. If you can put a slide up, please. Guys. Quite some famous people that are researched on that. We're knocked back. There's one slide before this one, sorry. The first one. There's one before this one. Thank you. Can we all see this? I mean, these are people that are quite familiar. There's Albert Einstein, there's Michael Jordan. The favorite, in my mind, the greatest thing that's ever happened to basketball. A black man as well. Sorry. There's Walt Disney. You know, we all watch his motion picture. There's Steve Jobs. Even Winfrey Opera, you know, as far as I'm concerned, you know, she's got the greatest broadcasting channel at the moment. But the thing is, all of these people were knocked back. They were pushed back in the sights. You know, Winfrey was demoted because they felt she just wasn't good enough as an anchor. Steve Jobs lost the control of his company at the age of 30, but he bounced back again. You know, Michael Jordan, they said, look, if you can't bounce the ball harder enough, then there's no point in you being on this court. But he went back home and he just gave it back his all. Albert Einstein, you know, without him, would we even have anything these days from electricity? But the bottom line is, you know, how well are we planning for our future? And whenever we get knocked back, what are we doing to pick ourselves up again? Financially, most importantly. You know, I know you might be looking at me and saying, well, I'm quite a stingy man, I'm quite a difficult man to deal with, but it's never always the case. It's just that my experience has just shaped the way I think, and I'm hoping I'll be more flexible going forward. Wow. Wow, okay. And if we can go back to Proverbs again, 21:20. Proverbs 21:20. It says, there is treasure to be desired and oil in the dwelling of the wise, but a foolish man spendeth it up. Media team, can you give me that second image, the Bill Gates one? It's quite interesting, this. Can we all see what's written there? Should I just read it out? So Bill Gates went to this restaurant to eat some food, and on finishing, he gave a $5 tip to the waiter, and the waiter was surprised, thinking, "Wow, you're the richest man in the world. Why would you give me $5? $5, £3." And Bill Gates looked at him and said, "Why? What's wrong with $5?" And he said, "Well, your son came here a couple of days ago and gave us a $500 tip." And Bill Gates said, "Look, he's the son of the richest man in the world, but I'm the son of the woodcutter." You know, it's always important to take a step back to remember where we come from. You know, I don't believe in earning £3,000 a month and wasting the entire 3,000. I don't believe in, there's always got to be something I'm putting aside. The fact that, you know, I know that it's quite simple. Someone comes to me and says, look, can you borrow me £1,000? Now, I'm not sure I get the money back. I would rather give you £300 and say, look, take it. They will know that your next worry now is 700. We're getting closer. But, you know, life is difficult. Life is stressful. Always remember where you come from.